Now, I think probably one of the more important things that we ought to cover before we run out of time, what does the Talmud say about Christ and Christianity? And I think probably one of the most shocking things that the Christian finds as you go into the Talmud, particularly in a book called the Sanhedrin, they say that Christ is guilty of the sin of blasphemy, and he therefore is condemned to at least 4 legal methods of execution.
Does the Talmud actually state that Christ should have been put to death in 4 different ways?
4 different ways, yes. Let me show you here. First, he was to be stoned, and then he was to be hanged or crucified. Now, this is found in Sanhedrin, paragraph 43a and 45b. Now, here is a very interesting thing. They use phony names in the Talmud. In this case, they call him Ben Stada. But if you will look into the Jewish encyclopedia, they say, well, Ben Stada was Jesus of Nazareth. That was just the word they used. And the same way, they have something like 7 different names that they use when they're talking about Christians. The average Christian, if they were to read the Talmud, wouldn't realize they were talking about Christians. Here in Sanhedrin, also 43a and b, Jesus' apostles are all to be killed. And here again, their names are all given as names different than what we find in the Bible, but if you will go into the Jewish encyclopedia, they encode these names, again using this numerical system that you talk about. Jesus was also to be crucified as a blasphemer, Sanhedrin 46a. Now listen to this one. Here's one that is quite interesting. Jesus was to be burned, Sanhedrin 52a, and here is the manner of his burning, found in Yebamot 6b, verified by the Jewish Encyclopedia, where his name is then used as Balaam. The Jewish Encyclopedia says they're talking about Jesus Christ. Listen to here. Here it is. He was to be lowered into dung up to his armpits. Then a hard cloth was placed within a soft cloth and round around his neck. The 2 loose ends were pulled in opposite directions, forcing his mouth open. A wick was then lit and thrown into his mouth so that it descended into his body, burning out his bowels, and his mouth was forced open with pincers against his wish. The death penalty for burning was also executed by pouring molten lead through the condemned man's mouth into his body, thus burning out his internal organs. That is one of the deaths that the Talmud condemns Jesus Christ to. Now, you can readily see from that they must have had a terrible, terrible hatred for him that they wanted.
How can you